My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted the conference room chair, trying to look composed while my heart hammered against my ribs. At 45, I'd attended countless corporate meetings, but this one felt different. Our company had just been acquired by Meridian Holdings, and today we were meeting the new owner for the first time. The rumors had been swirling for weeks. Some said he was ruthless, others claimed he was brilliant. What everyone agreed on was that he was incredibly wealthy and had a reputation for making swift, decisive changes. Half our department was convinced they'd be laid off by Christmas. "Hannah, you okay?" whispered Janet from accounting, sliding into the seat next to me. "You look pale." "Just nervous like everyone else," I replied, smoothing down my navy blazer. 23 years I'd been with Henderson Marketing, working my way up from junior copywriter to senior account manager. I had a mortgage to pay. My daughter Sophie was starting her senior year of college, and my son Marcus had just gotten engaged. This job wasn't just my career, it was my lifeline. The conference room buzzed with anxious energy. 37 employees packed around the massive mahogany table, all trying to look invaluable. Our old boss, Mr. Henderson, sat at the head looking defeated. He'd built this company from nothing, and now he was handing it over to a stranger. The door opened, and silence fell like a curtain. He walked in with the confidence of someone who owned the world, and probably did. Tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that likely cost more than my monthly salary, with silver threading through his dark hair. His eyes swept the room with the precision of a scanner, cataloging each face. "Good morning," he said, his voice carrying a slight accent I couldn't quite place. "I am Khalil Mansouri, your new owner." Henderson stood awkwardly. "Mr. Mansouri, welcome. These are our key team members." Khalil raised a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "I prefer to introduce myself." He moved around the table slowly, making eye contact with each person. "I know change is frightening, but I did not acquire Henderson Marketing to destroy it. I acquired it because I see potential that has not been realized." When he reached me, his dark eyes lingered for a moment longer than the others. There was something about his gaze that made me straighten in my chair, an intensity that seemed to look right through me. "Your reputation in the industry is solid," he continued, resuming his slow circuit. "But solid is not enough in today's market. We need to be exceptional. We need to think beyond the ordinary." He stopped at the front of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. "I will be reviewing each department over the next month. Some of you will thrive under new leadership. Others—" He let the threat hang in the air. My palms were sweating. I thought about Sophie's tuition payment due next month, about Marcus's wedding expenses we'd promised to help with. I thought about the small house I'd worked so hard to buy after the divorce, the one that finally felt like home. "Are there any questions?" Khalil asked. The room remained silent. No one wanted to draw attention to themselves, to be the first name on whatever list he might be making. Then something unexpected happened. His phone buzzed, and he answered it without excuse or apology. The conversation was brief, intense, and in rapid Arabic. I found myself listening, understanding every word, though I kept my expression carefully neutral. He was arguing with someone about a delayed shipment, about unreliable suppliers, about deadlines that couldn't be moved. His frustration was evident in his tone, even if no one else in the room could understand what he was saying. When he hung up, he muttered something under his breath in Arabic, a complaint about incompetent people who couldn't follow simple instructions. Before I could stop myself, before I could think about the consequences, I responded. "Maybe you need better suppliers," I said in perfect Arabic, my voice cutting through the silence like a blade. The room went dead quiet. Every head turned toward me, eyes wide with shock. Janet's mouth actually fell open. Henderson looked like he was about to have a heart attack, but it was Khalil's reaction that made my blood run cold. His dark eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made the air in the room feel electric. For a moment, neither of us moved. Neither of us breathed. The silence stretched until it became painful. Then, slowly, deliberately, he smiled. But it wasn't a friendly smile. If you're enjoying this story and want to see what happens next, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We've got so many more incredible true stories coming your way. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? Because what happened after that smile changed everything about my life, my job, and everything I thought I knew about keeping secrets safe. The silence in that conference room felt like it lasted forever, though it was probably only seconds. Khalil's smile never reached his eyes as he studied me with the focus of a predator who just spotted something interesting. "Ms." he said, still speaking in Arabic, his voice dangerously soft. "Hannah," I replied in English, my throat suddenly dry. "Hannah Mitchell." He switched back to English, but his gaze never left mine. "Ms. Mitchell, please remain after the meeting. The rest of you are dismissed." The scraping of chairs and shuffling of papers sounded unnaturally loud as 36 people filed out of the room, each one shooting me looks that ranged from curious to sympathetic. Janet squeezed my shoulder as she passed. "Good luck," she whispered. Henderson lingered by the door. "Mr. Mansouri, Hannah is one of our most valuable—" "Thank you, Mr. Henderson, that will be all." The finality in Khalil's tone left no room for argument. Henderson gave me one last worried look and left, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded like a cell door slamming shut. I was alone with the man who now controlled my fate. Khalil didn't speak immediately. Instead, he walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked downtown Phoenix, his hands clasped behind his back. The morning sun cast harsh shadows across his profile. 23 years, he said finally, still facing the window. "I'm sorry? You've been with this company for 23 years. Divorced? 2 children. Sophie, 21, studying communications at ASU. Marcus, 24, recently engaged to a girl named Emma." My blood went cold. "How do you—" "I research my acquisitions thoroughly, Ms. Mitchell. Every employee, every asset, every liability." He turned to face me, and I saw something calculating in his expression. "But what's interesting is what I didn't find in your file." I forced myself to remain calm, even as my heart pounded. "I don't understand. Don't you?" He moved closer, stopping just a few feet away. "Your resume is quite thorough. Born in Phoenix, graduated from Arizona State, worked your way up from entry level, but there's a gap, isn't there? Between high school and college. 18 months that aren't accounted for." The room felt like it was spinning. I gripped the edge of the conference table. "I took time off, worked, saved money for school. In Morocco." It wasn't a question. Somehow, he knew. "I traveled," I said carefully. "Lots of young people do." "Yes, but not many learn to speak Darija Arabic fluently." "That's not classical Arabic you spoke, Ms. Mitchell. That's the dialect from Casablanca specifically." "Very specific." My mouth went dry. How could he possibly know that level of detail? Khalil walked around me slowly, like a shark circling. "So, I have to wonder, what was an 18-year-old girl from Arizona doing in Morocco for a year and a half? And more importantly, why has she been hiding that experience for over 25 years? I couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. The memories I'd buried so deep came rushing back like a flood. The narrow streets of the Medina, the smell of mint tea and spices, the sound of the call to prayer echoing across the city at dawn. And Ahmed, always Ahmed. "I can see you remembering," Khalil said softly. "Good, because I need to know exactly who I'm dealing with." "Why?" I managed to whisper. "Why does it matter?" He stopped directly in front of me, his dark eyes boring into mine. "Because of this." He pulled out his phone and showed me a photograph. My knees nearly gave out. It was me, but 25 years younger, 18 years old, laughing as I walked through the souks of Marrakesh, my arm linked with a young man's. But it wasn't just any young man. It was Ahmed Mansouri. "You recognize him," Khalil observed, watching my face carefully. The words wouldn't come. "My brother," he said simply. "My younger brother Ahmed, who disappeared 25 years ago, who was supposed to come home from his studies abroad but never returned, who sent one letter saying he was in love with an American girl and then vanished without a trace." The room tilted. I reached for the chair to steady myself. "We searched for years," Khalil continued, his voice cold as winter steel. "Hired investigators, contacted embassies, followed every lead. Nothing. It was as if Ahmed and his American girlfriend had simply evaporated." I stared at the photograph, at my younger self looking so happy, so naive, so completely unaware of the heartbreak that was coming. "Where is he?" Khalil demanded, and for the first time I heard raw emotion crack through his controlled facade. "Where is my brother?" "I don't know," I whispered, and it was the truth. His jaw tightened. "You don't know? You disappeared with him, and you don't know?" "I didn't disappear with him." The words burst out before I could stop them. "He disappeared from me." Khalil's eyes flashed with something I couldn't read. "Explain." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of decades crushing down on me. When I opened them again, he was still staring at me with that intense, unforgiving gaze. "We were going to get married," I said quietly. "Ahmed was going to take me to meet his family in Rabat. We had plans, dreams. And then one morning, I woke up in our little apartment in Casablanca, and he was gone. No note, no explanation, just gone. That's impossible. Is it?" I looked up at him, letting him see the pain I'd carried for 25 years, because I've been wondering the same thing ever since. What happened to the man I loved? Where did Ahmed go? For a moment, Khalil's mask slipped, and I saw something vulnerable underneath. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by suspicion. "You're lying." "I'm not." "Then why hide it? Why bury that entire part of your life?" The question hung between us like a live wire. Because the truth was complicated, messy, and involved secrets I'd sworn I'd never tell. But as I looked at Khalil Mansouri, this powerful, dangerous man who held my future in his hands, I realized that my carefully constructed life was about to crumble whether I told the truth or not. "Because," I said slowly, "there are some things about your brother's disappearance that your family wouldn't want to know." His entire body went rigid. "What things?" I took a deep breath, knowing that my next words would change everything. "Ahmed didn't just disappear, Khalil. He was running from something, or someone, and whatever it was connected to your family." The silence that followed was so complete, I could hear my own heartbeat. Khalil's face had gone pale, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "What do you know about my family?" And that's when I realized that this conversation was about to become much more dangerous than I'd ever imagined. Khalil's question hung in the air between us like a loaded gun. I could see the war playing out behind his dark eyes, the need to know fighting against the fear of what he might learn. "Your family," I repeated slowly, buying time to think. "How much do you really know about what they were involved in 25 years ago?" "Don't answer my question with a question." His voice carried a warning that made my skin prickle. "Tell me what you know." I walked to the window, needing space to breathe, to think. Below us, Phoenix sprawled in all directions, a city built in the desert through sheer determination and stubborn hope, like the life I'd built here after Morocco shattered my world. "Ahmed was scared," I said finally. "Those last few weeks before he disappeared, he was paranoid, constantly looking over his shoulder. He'd gotten phone calls that made him go white, messages that made him burn papers in the sink of our tiny apartment. I could feel Khalil's eyes boring into my back, but I didn't turn around. He told me his family had business interests that weren't entirely legitimate. Import-export, he said, but with connections to people who didn't follow normal rules. That's impossible." But there was uncertainty in Khalil's voice now. "My family runs legitimate businesses. Textiles, electronics, real estate. In 1999, I turned to face him. "When Ahmed was 23 and you were, 28? What was your family business then, exactly?" Khalil's jaw tightened. "The same. We've always been legitimate." Ahmed didn't think so. He said there were shipments that came through in the middle of the night. Money that moved through accounts that didn't exist on paper. People who visited your family's compound who didn't give their real names. "You're lying." But he said it without conviction. "Am I? Then why did someone threaten to kill him if he didn't come home and forget about his American girlfriend?" The words hit Khalil like a physical blow. He actually stepped back, his face going pale. "What?" 3 days before he disappeared, Ahmed got a phone call. I was in the shower, but I heard him shouting. When I came out, he was shaking. He said it was his cousin Yusuf calling on behalf of the family. They wanted him home immediately, and if he didn't come alone, if he brought me or tried to contact me afterward, they would make sure we both disappeared permanently. Khalil sank into one of the conference chairs, his composure finally cracking. Youssef died in a car accident 2 years ago. Did he? Or was that another convenient disappearance? Stop. Khalil's voice was raw. Just stop. But I couldn't stop now. The floodgates were open, and 25 years of suppressed truth came pouring out. Ahmed was going to run. He'd saved money, had contacts in Europe who could help us start over. We were supposed to leave together that morning. I sat across from him, leaning forward. But when I woke up, there was just a note on the pillow. I'm sorry. Forget me. Live your life. You were never in Morocco. Khalil's hands were shaking as he pulled out his phone. Show me the note. I don't have it anymore. Of course you don't. I burned it, along with every photograph, every letter, every piece of evidence that Ahmed Mansouri had ever existed in my life, because I was 18 years old and terrified, and I didn't want to end up dead in a ditch somewhere. The silence stretched between us, heavy with the weight of old secrets and older pain. If what you're saying is true, Khalil said slowly, then my brother didn't abandon his family. He was protecting you. Maybe. Or maybe he was protecting himself. Or maybe both. I studied his face, seeing the resemblance to Ahmed now that I knew to look for it. The same strong jaw, the same intense eyes, though Ahmed's had been warmer. What I know is that he loved me enough to walk away rather than put me in danger. Khalil stood abruptly, pacing to the window. This changes everything. Does it? Or does it just confirm what you've always suspected? He whirled around, his eyes flashing. What do you mean? Come on, Khalil. You're not a stupid man. You've built a business empire, acquired companies all over the world. You had to know your family money didn't come from selling textiles and electronics. I built my fortune independently. With what starting capital? From where? And why did you move to America 20 years ago? Why not stay in Morocco and work with the family business? Each question was like a dart finding its target. I could see the truth dawning in his eyes, the pieces of a puzzle he'd refused to see finally clicking into place. You know, don't you? I pressed. Deep down, you've always known something was wrong about Ahmed's disappearance, about your family, about everything. Khalil's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face went ashen. What is it? A text, from a number I don't recognize. He showed me the screen. The message was in Arabic. Stop digging into the past, or join your brother. My blood turned to ice. How is that possible? No one knew about this conversation except us. Khalil's eyes swept the conference room, and I realized what he was thinking. He moved quickly to the table, running his hands along the edge until he found what he was looking for. A small device barely visible unless you knew to look. A listening device. We're not alone, he said grimly, crushing the bug under his heel. We haven't been alone this entire time. The implications hit me like a freight train. Someone had been listening to our conversation. Someone knew that I had information about Ahmed. Someone knew that Khalil was asking questions. We have to get out of here, I said, standing quickly. If they're watching, it's too late for that. Khalil's voice was calm, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. If they're here, if they've found us, then running will only make things worse. Worse? How can it be worse? He looked at me with something that might have been sympathy. Because now they know you're alive, Hannah, and they know you remember. Before I could ask what he meant, the conference room door opened. The man who entered was tall, distinguished, wearing an expensive suit that couldn't disguise the predatory grace in his movements. His smile was warm and friendly, but his eyes were cold as winter steel. Hello, cousin, he said to Khalil in accented English. It's been too long. Khalil's face had gone white as chalk. Youssef, surprised to see me? I suppose I should be flattered that you believed I was dead. Youssef's gaze moved to me, and I felt like a mouse being studied by a snake. And you must be Hannah. You haven't aged a day. Morocco must have agreed with you. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The man who had threatened to kill Ahmed 25 years ago was standing in front of me, very much alive, very much dangerous. What do you want? Khalil demanded. Youssef's smile widened. What I've always wanted, cousin. To clean up the family's messes, starting with loose ends that should have been tied off a long time ago. His hand moved inside his jacket, and I knew with horrible certainty that my carefully rebuilt life was about to come crashing down around me. Time slowed to a crawl as Youssef's hand moved toward his jacket, Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs felt like concrete. 25 years of hiding, and it had all come down to this moment. Don't! Khalil stepped between us, his voice deadly calm. We're in a corporate building, Youssef. Security cameras, witnesses. Even you're not reckless enough to what? Have a family reunion? Youssef's hand stopped moving, but his smile never wavered. I'm not here to hurt anyone, cousin. I'm here to have a conversation. Like the conversation you had with Ahmed. Youssef's expression darkened. Ah yes, poor Ahmed. Always too soft, too emotional. He could have had everything, wealth, power, respect. Instead, he chose to throw it all away for... His eyes flicked to me with obvious disdain. American sentiment. I found my voice. What did you do to him? Nothing he didn't choose for himself. Youssef moved to the conference table, sitting casually as if this were just another business meeting. Please, both of you, sit. This conversation is long overdue. Khalil remained standing, positioned protectively between Youssef and me. Hannah doesn't know anything. She was just a girl who happened to be sleeping with a man who discovered information that could destroy everything we built. Youssef's casual tone made his words even more chilling. Don't insult my intelligence, Khalil. You think I didn't research her thoroughly before coming here? What information? I demanded. I never knew anything about your business. Youssef laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Didn't you? Then perhaps we should refresh your memory. Tell me, Hannah, what did Ahmed show you in those final weeks? What photographs did he share? What documents did he translate for his beloved American girlfriend? My blood went cold. The photographs. I'd almost forgotten about them. Youssef saw my expression change. Ah, now she remembers. The pictures from the warehouse in Tangier. The manifests with the creative bookkeeping. The names and faces of men who preferred to remain anonymous. I burned everything, I whispered. After he disappeared, I burned everything. Did you? All of it? Youssef leaned forward. Or did you keep something? A memento, perhaps? Insurance? Young women in love often keep things they shouldn't. I thought about the small memory box hidden in my bedroom closet, behind my winter coats, the one item I hadn't been able to destroy, Ahmed's ring, the simple gold band he'd planned to give his father as proof of our engagement. Hidden inside the band was a micro SD card containing the evidence he'd gathered. Insurance, he'd called it, in case his family ever tried to hurt us. I'd forgotten about it for years. When digital storage evolved beyond floppy disks and CD-ROMs, the tiny card had seemed obsolete, irrelevant. But the look in Youssef's eyes told me it was neither. I don't know what you're talking about, I lied. Youssef studied me for a long moment, then turned to Khalil. Your brother was always too trusting. He believed he could expose us and somehow remain safe. He never understood that family loyalty isn't a choice. It's a survival imperative. What happened to him? Khalil's voice was raw with pain. Where is Ahmed? Does it matter? He made his choice. He chose her over us, outsiders over family. There are consequences for such decisions. The casual way he said it, as if Ahmed's life was just another business transaction, made rage surge through me. You killed him. I protected the family. From threats, from exposure, from the weakness that would have destroyed everything our grandfather built. Khalil was shaking with fury. He was your family too. He was a liability. Youssef's mask finally slipped, showing the cold calculation underneath. Just as she is now. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. I realized that for all his talk of conversation and family reunions, Youssef hadn't come here to negotiate. He'd come to finish what he'd started 25 years ago. But I'm willing to make a deal, he continued, his voice returning to that deceptively pleasant tone. Hannah gives me whatever evidence she still has, and I make her disappearance look like an accident. Quick, painless, professional. And if I refuse? I managed to ask. Youssef pulled out his phone and showed me a photo that made my knees buckle. It was Sophie, my daughter, walking across the ASU campus with her textbooks clutched to her chest, completely unaware that someone was photographing her. Your daughter is very beautiful. Reminds me of you at that age. Your son Marcus is handsome too. He and Emma make a lovely couple. It would be tragic if something happened to them. You bastard! I lunged forward, but Khalil caught my arm. Careful, Hannah, Youssef warned. Emotional reactions lead to poor decisions. I learned that from Ahmed's mistake. What do you want? Khalil demanded. What I've always wanted. The evidence Ahmed collected returned to the family, and all loose ends tied off permanently. He stood, straightening his jacket. I'm staying at the Phoenician Resort Presidential Suite. You have until tomorrow night to decide. After that, I'll make the decision for you. He moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Khalil? Don't think about running or calling the authorities. We have people everywhere. The only way this ends well for anyone is if you both cooperate. After he left, I collapsed into a chair, my whole body shaking. 25 years of carefully built security, of normal life, of believing I was safe, all of it crumbling in the space of an hour. The evidence, Khalil said quietly. You really do have it. I nodded, unable to speak. What is it? What did Ahmed find? Names, dates, financial records. Proof that your family wasn't just importing textiles and electronics. They were moving money for some very dangerous people. Weapons dealers, drug cartels, terrorist organizations. Your family was the bridge between the legitimate business world and the criminal underground. Khalil sank into a chair beside me. My God, there are photographs too. Your father, your uncles, sitting down with men who were on Interpol's most wanted list. Bank records showing millions of dollars flowing through shell companies. Shipping manifests that didn't match actual cargo. I looked at him, seeing my own fear reflected in his eyes. If that information ever went public, it wouldn't just destroy your family business. It would bring down governments, expose decades of corruption and criminal conspiracy. And Ahmed was going to turn it over to the authorities. He was going to try. He thought if he had enough evidence, he could force your family to go legitimate or face exposure. He was naive enough to believe he could negotiate with them. Khalil was quiet for a long moment. He never understood that men like Youssef don't negotiate. They eliminate threats, like he eliminated Ahmed. Like he's going to eliminate us unless we give him what he wants. I closed my eyes, thinking about my children, about the life I'd built brick by careful brick over 2 decades. I can't give him the evidence. If I do, he'll kill me anyway. And if I don't, he'll kill your children. The words hung between us like a death sentence. I opened my eyes and looked at Khalil, this man who'd walked into my life 6 hours ago and turned everything upside down. There might be another option, he said slowly. What? His dark eyes met mine, and I saw something dangerous stirring in their depths, something that reminded me suddenly, powerfully, of Ahmed. We don't run and we don't surrender. We fight back. The next morning, I stood in my kitchen making coffee with trembling hands, trying to process the insanity of what Khalil was proposing. Fight back against a criminal organization that had tentacles reaching across continents? Against people who'd made Ahmed disappear without a trace? My phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. Mom, some guy was asking questions about you at the coffee shop yesterday. Said he was an old friend from Morocco. Weird, right? Love you. I nearly dropped my phone. They were already making contact with my children, letting me know how easy it would be to reach them. The message was clear. We're watching, we're close, and we can get to anyone you love. Khalil had stayed at my house last night. For protection, he said, though I wasn't sure who was protecting whom. He sat at my kitchen table now, studying documents he'd printed from his phone, planning what he called a preemptive strike. You're insane, I said, setting a coffee cup in front of him. These people killed your brother. They've had 25 years to consolidate power, eliminate witnesses, perfect their operations. What makes you think we can? Because they made a mistake, Khalil interrupted. They let me live, and they let me build my own power base. They thought distance and time would make me forget, make me stop asking questions. They were wrong. I sat across from him, still wearing my robe, my hair a mess. At 45, I felt too old for this kind of drama, too settled for the adrenaline that was currently coursing through my veins. What kind of power base? Khalil looked up from his papers. You think I built my fortune by accident? You think I chose to acquire companies randomly? For 20 years, I've been building a network, gathering resources, preparing for the day when I'd finally get answers about Ahmed. You planned this? Not this specifically, but I knew someday the past would catch up. I wanted to be ready. He pulled up something on his laptop. I've been tracking Youssef for years. He's not as careful as he thinks he is. The screen showed what looked like surveillance photos, financial records, travel documents. Khalil had been conducting his own investigation, building his own case. How did you find him? Money leaves trails if you know where to look. Youssef has been laundering family funds through a series of shell companies, investing in legitimate businesses to clean the money. Restaurants, real estate, technology firms. He pointed to a column of numbers. But he got greedy, started skimming from the family accounts, building his own nest egg. I studied the documents, trying to make sense of the financial maze. What does this mean? It means Youssef has been stealing from his own family for years, and I have proof. Khalil's smile was sharp as a blade. He's vulnerable, Hannah. Maybe for the first time in his life, he's vulnerable. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer it, Khalil said quickly. But I was already hitting the accept button. Hello? Good morning, Hannah. Youssef's voice was as smooth as silk. I trust you slept well? What do you want? To remind you that you have less than 12 hours to make your decision. I hope you're not considering anything foolish, like involving the authorities or trying to run. That would end very badly for your family. I understand. Do you? Because someone has been making inquiries about me, accessing financial records that require considerable resources and expertise. I hope that's not you and my dear cousin attempting to play games you don't understand. I met Khalil's eyes across the table. How did Youssef know already? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? How disappointing. I had hoped we could keep this civilized. The line went quiet for a moment. Hannah, I want you to go to your bedroom window, the one that faces the street. My blood turned to ice, but I walked to the bedroom, phone still pressed to my ear. When I looked out the window, I saw a black SUV parked across the street. The driver's window was down, and I could see someone with binoculars pointed directly at my house. Smile and wave, Hannah. My associate has been watching you all morning. I stumbled backward from the window. What do you want? I want you to understand that I'm not playing games. You have something that belongs to my family, and I will have it back, one way or another. His voice hardened. Bring the evidence to the Phoenician at 8 p.m. tonight. Come alone, or your daughter won't make it to her next class. The line went dead. I ran back to the kitchen, my heart hammering. He knows about your investigation. He's watching the house. He has people following Sophie. Khalil cursed in Arabic. It's too soon. I need more time to... We don't have more time. I was on the edge of panic. My children are in danger. I have to give him what he wants. If you do, we're all dead. You, me, your children. Everyone who knows anything about this. Then what do you suggest? Because right now, the only plan I can think of involves getting Sophie and Marcus somewhere safe and then disappearing forever. Khalil stood up, pacing the small kitchen like a caged animal. There might be another way. Dangerous, but possible. I'm listening. We give him the evidence, but not the original. I stared at him. What do you mean? The data on that micro SD card. It's 25 years old. Technology has advanced. We could alter it, add information, embed it with tracking software, make it into a weapon instead of just evidence. I don't understand. Khalil pulled out his phone. I have contacts in the cybersecurity world, people who specialize in creative solutions. If we can modify the data without Youssef knowing, we can turn his victory into his downfall. How? By making sure that when he tries to use or destroy the evidence, it automatically uploads to every law enforcement agency, every journalist, every intelligence service in the world. We make the evidence into a digital bomb that only goes off when he thinks he's won. The plan was audacious, terrifying, and possibly suicidal. But as I thought about my daughter walking across campus with a target on her back, about my son planning a wedding he might not live to see, I realized we were out of safe options. How long would it take? 6 hours? Maybe 7 if we're lucky. I have someone in Los Angeles who can do this kind of work, but we'd have to get the card to him and back before tonight. I thought about the ring hidden in my closet, the tiny piece of technology that had been gathering dust for decades while containing enough information to topple governments. There's something else, I said slowly. The evidence isn't just about your family's business. Ahmed found connections to American politicians, European banks, Middle Eastern governments. If this goes public, it won't just destroy your family. It'll cause an international scandal. Khalil went very still. What kind of connections? Senate campaign contributions that came from drug money, arms deals that were approved because the right people got paid. Bank executives who looked the other way, while billions in terrorist funds got laundered through their institutions. I met his eyes. Your family wasn't just criminals, Khalil. They were the criminals other criminals depended on. Jesus. Which means Youssef isn't just protecting family secrets. He's protecting people with the power to make entire governments disappear if they feel threatened. The weight of that realization settled over us like a shroud. We weren't just fighting one man or even one criminal organization. We were taking on a network of corruption that reached into the highest levels of power around the world. We could run, I said quietly. Take my kids and disappear. New identities, new lives. For how long? These people have infinite resources and very long memories. They found you after 25 years of hiding. You think they won't find you again? He was right, and I knew it. There was no running from this. There was only fighting or dying. Okay, I said finally. Let's do it. Let's give them a digital bomb. Khalil was already dialing his phone. I'm calling my contact in LA. We'll need to move fast. While he spoke in rapid technical jargon to someone on the other end, I went to my bedroom and retrieved the ring from its hiding place. Such a small thing to have caused so much death and destruction. Ahmed's insurance policy had become my death sentence, but maybe, just maybe, it could become something else entirely. When I returned to the kitchen, Khalil was off the phone. Marcus is driving to LA now. He can have the modified card back to us by 6 p.m. That gives us 2 hours before the meeting. What happens after we give Youssef the card? If everything works, he takes it back to Morocco, plugs it into his system, and triggers the upload. Within hours, every intelligence agency in the world will have copies of everything. He'll be arrested, his network will be exposed, and the evidence will be protected in so many places that destroying it becomes impossible. And if it doesn't work? Khalil's expression was grim. Then we die tonight and Youssef wins. I looked at the ring in my hand, at the weight of 25 years of secrets and lies. Ahmed had died trying to expose the truth. Now it was my turn to decide whether that truth was worth the risk. My phone buzzed with another text from Sophie. Mom, that guy came to my dorm last night. The RA wouldn't let him up, but he left a message saying to tell you he was thinking about old times in Morocco. This is getting creepy. Should I call the police? I showed the message to Khalil and saw my own fear reflected in his dark eyes. They're closing in, he said quietly. Then we better make sure our plan works. I closed my fist around Ahmed's ring. Because failure isn't an option anymore. As if summoned by my words, my phone rang again. Youssef, change of plans, he said without preamble. The meeting is now at 6 p.m. instead of 8. And Hannah, don't even think about trying anything clever. I have people watching your children around the clock. One wrong move, and they disappear just like Ahmed did. The line went dead, and I realized we'd just lost our safety margin. The modified card wouldn't be back from LA until 6 p.m., exactly when I was supposed to be meeting Youssef. We're out of time, I told Khalil. He checked his watch, calculating rapidly. Maybe not. If Marcus drives straight here instead of taking the card home first, if traffic cooperates, if everything goes perfectly, and if it doesn't, then we go to that meeting with the original evidence and hope we can improvise our way out alive. I thought about my children, about the life I'd built in Phoenix, about Ahmed and the love that had started all of this 25 years ago. I thought about justice and revenge and the thin line between them. Either way, I said, this ends tonight. At 5:47 p.m., I sat in my car in the parking lot of the Phoenician resort, waiting for a miracle that might not come. Khalil was beside me, both of us watching the entrance for any sign of his tech contact arriving with our modified evidence. My phone showed 17 missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. The pressure was building. Where is he? I whispered, checking the time again. LA traffic is unpredictable. He'll make it. But Khalil's voice lacked conviction, and I could see the sweat beading on his forehead despite the car's air conditioning. At 5:52, a motorcycle roared into the parking lot. The rider pulled up next to our car, yanked off his helmet to reveal a young man with bleached hair and multiple piercings. Marcus, Khalil called through the window. That's me. You Khalil? The kid looked like he belonged in a cyberpunk novel, not conducting espionage operations. Sorry I'm late. Had to dodge some very unfriendly gentlemen who seemed interested in following me. You were followed? Was being the operative phrase. Lost them in the downtown maze. Marcus handed Khalil a small envelope. Your package is ready. Fair warning, though. This thing is nastier than you requested. Once it's activated, there's no stopping it. It'll upload to every server I could hack into, plus a few I probably shouldn't have. Khalil examined the modified micro SD card. It looked identical to the original, but now it contained digital dynamite. How do we activate it? It's automatic. First time someone tries to access the files, boom. 30-second delay, then it starts uploading everywhere. FBI, CIA, Interpol, WikiLeaks, every major news organization in the world. Your buddy Youssef is going to become very famous very quickly. What if he doesn't access it immediately? Marcus grinned. Built in a failsafe. If the card isn't accessed within 72 hours, it sends a preview package to the Washington Post with a note saying the full files are coming. Trust me, once that happens, everyone's going to want to see what's on there. I took the card from Khalil, marveling at how something so small could contain such power. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If this goes sideways, we're all going to prison. Assuming we live that long. Marcus put his helmet back on. Good luck, you're going to need it. As he roared away, my phone rang. Youssef. I'm getting impatient, Hannah. Where are you? Walking into the lobby now. I wasn't, but I would be in 60 seconds. Excellent. Presidential suite, 42nd floor. Come alone, or your daughter's evening jog becomes her last. The line went dead, and I turned to Khalil. This is it. I should come with you. No. He's expecting me alone, and we can't risk him getting suspicious now. I checked that I had both cards, the original hidden in my shoe, the modified one in my purse. Give me 30 minutes. If I don't come back down, you will. If I don't, get my children to safety. Promise me. Khalil nodded grimly. I promise. The Phoenician resort was the kind of place I'd never stayed in my life. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, staff who probably earned more than I did. I felt underdressed in my simple black dress and flats, but then again, I wasn't here for the ambiance. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor felt like ascending to my own execution. Each floor that passed brought me closer to a confrontation, 25 years in the making. The presidential suite took up half the floor. When I knocked, the door opened immediately, as if Youssef had been waiting right behind it. Hannah, punctual as always, please, come in. The suite was obscenely luxurious, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of Phoenix, furniture that probably cost more than my house, art that belonged in museums. But my attention was immediately drawn to the three men standing near the windows. Large men in expensive suits with suspicious bulges under their jackets. Security, Youssef said casually, following my gaze. I hope you don't mind. One can never be too careful in a foreign country. I brought what you wanted. Did you? All of it? I pulled the modified card from my purse, holding it up so he could see it. Everything Ahmed collected, photos, financial records, names, dates. 25 years of secrets. Youssef's eyes lit up with an almost hungry intensity. May I? I hesitated for just a moment. Once I handed over the card, there was no going back. Then I thought about Sophie, about Marcus, about Ahmed lying in an unmarked grave somewhere. First, I want to know what really happened to Ahmed. Youssef moved to the bar, pouring himself a scotch that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Does it matter? He's been dead for 25 years. It matters to me. Very well. A moment of closure before we conclude our business. Youssef sipped his drink, studying me over the rim. Ahmed was stubborn. Even after I explained the situation, even after I made it clear that his cooperation was not optional, he refused to return to Morocco without you. So you killed him. I gave him a choice. Disappear forever. Let you believe he had abandoned you, but live quietly somewhere far away. Or refuse and watch you die in front of him before I killed him too. The casual way he described it, as if he were discussing the weather, made my vision blur with rage. He chose to disappear. He chose you. Even in death he chose you. Youssef's smile was cruel. He agreed to vanish, to never contact you again, in exchange for your safety. Noble, really. Pointless, but noble. Where did you take him? The Sahara is very large, Hannah, and very permanent. Youssef set down his glass and held out his hand. Now, the evidence. I placed the modified card in his palm, watching as his fingers closed around 25 years of secrets and lies. And in 30 seconds, when he plugged it into his laptop to verify its contents, those secrets would begin spreading across the globe like wildfire. Excellent. You've made the right choice. Youssef moved to a laptop on the suite's dining table. I assume you'll want to verify that this is genuine before we conclude our business. That would be wise. He inserted the card into the laptop and I held my breath. 29 seconds, 28, 27. The screen filled with documents, photographs, financial records, all the evidence Ahmed had died protecting. Youssef scrolled through it rapidly, his expression growing more satisfied by the moment. 10 seconds, 9, 8. This is everything, he murmured, almost to himself. 25 years of loose ends, finally tied up. 3, 2, 1. Nothing happened. My heart sank as Youssef continued scrolling through the files, completely unaware that he should have triggered the upload by now. Had something gone wrong? Had Marcus made a mistake? Remarkable work, your Ahmed, Youssef said, still focused on the screen. So thorough, so detailed. He really would have destroyed everything we built. That's when I noticed it. A small notification in the corner of the laptop screen. An upload progress bar moving slowly but steadily from 1% to 2% to 3%. The bomb was armed. The fuse was burning. And Youssef had no idea that in less than an hour, his entire world was going to explode. Well, he said, finally looking up from the laptop. This concludes our business, I believe. Does it? You have what you wanted. Almost. Youssef's smile turned predatory. There's still the matter of the witness. One of his security men moved closer, his hand inside his jacket. You said if I gave you the evidence. I said many things, but you've seen too much, know too much. You're a liability that needs to be eliminated. The upload bar hit 15%. Somewhere in the world, servers were already receiving the first fragments of files that would bring down governments. Just like Ahmed was a liability? Exactly like Ahmed. Youssef nodded to his security man. But before the man could draw his weapon, every phone in the room started buzzing simultaneously. Youssef frowned, pulling out his cell phone. His face went white as he read the message. What is it? One of the security men asked. Youssef's eyes met mine across the room, and I saw understanding dawn in them along with absolute fury. She played us, he whispered. The card, it's not just evidence. It's a weapon. The upload bar hit 50%, and I knew that half the intelligence agencies in the world now had copies of files that would rewrite history books. Youssef screamed something in Arabic and lunged for the laptop, but it was too late. The files were already spreading, copying, multiplying across the digital world like a virus that couldn't be stopped. And in that moment, I realized that Ahmed's death was finally going to mean something. The chaos in the hotel suite was immediate and complete. Youssef frantically tried to disconnect the laptop while screaming orders in Arabic to his security team. One of the men was already on his phone, speaking rapidly in what sounded like damage control mode. How? Youssef demanded, whirling to face me. How did you? 25 years, I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. You had 25 years to kill me and didn't. That was your mistake. The upload bar hit 75%. Around the world, encrypted files were being decrypted, classified information was being analyzed, and the network that had killed Ahmed was being exposed in real time. Youssef pulled a gun from inside his jacket, pointing it directly at my chest. I can still fix this. Kill you, destroy the laptop, claim the files or fabrications? Too late. I nodded toward the window, where the distant sound of sirens was growing louder. Your network included American politicians, remember? The FBI tends to take that personally. You're lying. But even as he said it, his phone rang. He answered it without taking his eyes off me, spoke briefly in Arabic, then went pale. What is it? One of his men asked. Interpol just issued arrest warrants for the entire family. The Americans are freezing all our accounts. The Moroccans are denying they know us. Youssef's hand shook as he kept the gun trained on me. 25 years of work, destroyed in 25 minutes. Ahmed would be proud. Ahmed was a fool, and so are you. You think exposing us will bring him back? You think justice will resurrect the dead? No, but it might prevent other people from dying. The sirens were much closer now. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see police cars and FBI vehicles converging on the resort. "We need to leave. Now," one of the security men said urgently. But Youssef wasn't listening. His entire focus was on me, as if killing me could somehow undo the digital apocalypse spreading across the globe. "You want to know something about your precious Ahmed?" he snarled. He begged at the end, cried like a child, pleaded for his life. "So much for your noble romantic hero." "You're lying." "Am I?" "He offered to give us everything, the evidence, you, his own integrity, if we'd just let him live. But it was too late. He'd already made his choice." I felt something crack inside me, a wall I'd built around Ahmed's memory. Even if that's true, it doesn't matter. He still tried to do the right thing. The right thing got him killed, just like it's going to get you killed. Youssef's finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could fire, the suite's door exploded inward. FBI agents in tactical gear poured through the opening, weapons drawn, shouting commands. "Drop the weapon! Get on the ground! Now!" For a moment, Youssef hesitated, torn between shooting me and surviving the next 60 seconds. The hesitation cost him. One of the agents put a taser dart in his chest, and he went down hard, convulsing on the marble floor. The other security men surrendered without a fight, clearly deciding that whatever they were being paid wasn't worth dying for. "Hannah Mitchell?" One of the agents approached me, lowering his weapon. "Are you injured?" "I'm okay," though I wasn't sure that was true. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving me shaky and nauseated. "Agent Sarah Chen, FBI." The woman was young, Asian American, with the kind of focused intensity that reminded me of myself at her age. "We need you to come with us. There are a lot of questions that need answering." As they led me out of the suite, I saw Youssef being loaded onto a stretcher, still conscious but handcuffed to the gurney. His eyes met mine one last time. "This isn't over," he mouthed. But I knew he was wrong. It was over. After 25 years, it was finally over. The next few hours were a blur of FBI interviews, legal procedures, and medical examinations. I told them everything. About Ahmed, about Morocco, about the evidence, and how I'd kept it hidden all these years. They were particularly interested in the names and connections revealed in the files. "You realize what you've done?" Agent Chen asked during one of the breaks. "These files don't just expose a criminal network. They're going to trigger investigations in dozens of countries, bring down politicians, reshape entire intelligence operations." "Good," she studied me curiously. "You don't seem surprised by the scope of this." "I've had 25 years to think about what Ahmed found. I always knew it was big. I just never knew how big." Around midnight, they finally let me call Khalil. He'd been detained for questioning too, but was being released. "Are you okay?" he asked immediately. "I'm alive. Sophie and Marcus? Safe. FBI has them in protective custody until they're sure there are no other family members who might try retaliation." I closed my eyes, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders that I'd been carrying for decades. "What happens now?" "Now? Now we try to rebuild our lives. Again." There was something in his voice that made me ask, "What aren't you telling me?" A long pause. "I've been thinking about something Youssef said. About Ahmed begging at the end. He was trying to hurt me. People like him lie. Maybe. But what if he wasn't lying? What if Ahmed did beg, did offer to trade everything to save his life?" I felt that crack in my heart widen. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe Ahmed wasn't the perfect hero we wanted him to be. Maybe he was just a scared young man who made mistakes and paid for them." Khalil's voice was gentle, and maybe that doesn't make his sacrifice any less meaningful. I thought about that as they drove me home in an unmarked FBI car. About the difference between heroes and human beings. About the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of senseless loss. Ahmed had been 23 when he died, younger than my son Marcus was now. Had he been brave or foolish, noble or naive? Did it matter? What mattered was that his death had finally served its purpose. The truth was out. The network that had killed him was exposed. Justice had been delayed, but not denied. As we pulled into my driveway, I saw news vans lining the street. The story was already breaking worldwide. International criminal conspiracy, government corruption, decades of hidden crimes suddenly dragged into the light. I was going to be famous, whether I wanted to be or not. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, I just wanted to go inside my house, pour myself a very large glass of wine, and mourn the boy Ahmed had been and the man he'd never gotten to become. And maybe, finally, I could start to forgive myself for surviving when he hadn't. 6 months later, I stood in the Phoenix courthouse wearing my best dress, watching as the last of Youssef's associates was sentenced to life in prison. The trials had been international news for months, government officials resigning, bank executives arrested, entire intelligence networks dismantled. Ahmed's evidence had done exactly what he'd hoped it would do, just 25 years too late. "How does it feel?" Khalil asked as we walked out of the courthouse together. He'd been by my side through every trial, every testimony, every media interview. Somewhere along the way, the man who'd once been my enemy had become my closest ally. "Empty," I said honestly. "I thought justice would feel different, more satisfying. Justice doesn't bring back the dead." "No, it doesn't." We walked to his car in comfortable silence. The media attention had died down somewhat, but I still got recognized occasionally. The Morocco whistleblower, they called me. It was better than some of the other names I'd been called. Sophie and Marcus had handled the attention better than I'd expected. Sophie had even changed her major to investigative journalism, inspired by what she called Mom's accidental heroism. Marcus and Emma had postponed their wedding until the trials were over, but they were planning a small ceremony for next month. Life was returning to something like normal. "I have something for you," Khalil said as we reached his car. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. It arrived this morning. The return address made my hands shake. It was from a law office in Casablanca, Morocco. "What is it?" "Open it." Inside was a letter in English, along with several documents and a smaller, sealed envelope. The letter was from an attorney representing someone who wished to remain anonymous. "Dear Ms. Mitchell, recent events have prompted my client to come forward with information that may be of interest to you. My client knew Ahmed Mansouri in his final days and wishes to correct certain misconceptions about his death. The enclosed documents include Ahmed's final letter, written shortly before his disappearance, and evidence that he did not die in the manner described by Youssef Mansouri during recent court proceedings. If you wish to learn more, please contact my office at your convenience. Sincerely, Farid El Mansouri, attorney at law." My vision blurred as I stared at the letter. "Ahmed's final letter?" Khalil nodded. "Open it." The sealed envelope contained 2 sheets of paper covered in Ahmed's familiar handwriting. The ink had faded, but the words were still legible. "My beloved Hannah, if you are reading this, then I am already gone and the worst has happened. I pray that you never see these words, that somehow we find a way to escape this nightmare together. But if the choice comes down to your life or mine, I choose yours. I will always choose yours. Youssef has made his demands clear. I am to return to Morocco alone, renounce everything I have discovered, and never contact you again. In exchange, you will be allowed to live your life in peace. It is not a difficult choice. I know you will blame yourself. Please don't. You gave me the happiest months of my life. You showed me what love could be, what it meant to fight for something beyond money and power and family obligations. Whatever happens next, that was worth everything. The evidence is hidden where we talked about. You know the place. Use it or destroy it, whatever brings you peace. But don't let my death be meaningless. The people we've uncovered, the connections we've mapped, they will hurt others if they're not stopped. I am not brave enough to die a hero, Hannah. But maybe I am brave enough to die for love. I will carry your memory into whatever comes next. Forever yours, Ahmed P.S. Look for the man with the scar on his left hand. He is not who he claims to be. I couldn't breathe. After 25 years of believing Ahmed had abandoned me, of carrying the weight of that betrayal alongside my grief, I finally had the truth. He had chosen me. Even knowing it meant his death, he had chosen me. There's more, Khalil said gently, pointing to the other documents. They were medical records from a clinic in Rabat, dated 3 days after Ahmed's supposed death. Someone matching his description had been treated for severe injuries, broken ribs, internal bleeding, signs of torture. The patient had given a false name, but had been identified by DNA evidence found at the clinic years later. Ahmed hadn't died immediately in the desert. He'd survived Youssef's initial punishment, been taken to Morocco, and had lived for at least 3 more days. The final document was a death certificate, also from Rabat, dated a week after the medical treatment. Cause of death: cardiac arrest following severe trauma. He was alive, I whispered. For days, he was alive. The attorney thinks there may be witnesses to his final days. People who were afraid to come forward before, but who might talk now that Youssef's network has been exposed. I folded Ahmed's letter carefully, pressing it against my chest. 25 years of questions, finally answered. He hadn't abandoned me. He hadn't chosen his family over our love. He had sacrificed everything to protect me. Do you want to go to Morocco? Khalil asked. To find out what really happened? I thought about it. Part of me desperately wanted to know everything. Ahmed's final words, his last thoughts, the exact circumstances of his death. But another part of me recognized that some stories didn't need endings, only acceptance. No, I said finally. I know enough now. He loved me. He died protecting me. The rest is just details. Khalil nodded, understanding. What will you do now? Live, I said simply. The life Ahmed died to give me. The life I've been too afraid to fully embrace for 25 years. We drove back to my house in silence, but it was a different kind of quiet than before. Peaceful rather than tense. The weight of secrets and lies had finally been lifted. That evening, I called Sophie and Marcus, telling them about the letter, about the truth we'd finally uncovered. Sophie cried. Marcus got angry all over again at the injustice of it all. But both of them understood why I'd decided not to pursue the investigation further. You've been mourning a betrayal that never happened, Sophie said. Maybe now you can just mourn the loss. She was right. For the first time in 25 years, I could remember Ahmed without the poison of thinking he'd chosen his family over me. I could love his memory without the complication of feeling abandoned. As I got ready for bed that night, I looked at myself in the mirror, 45 years old, with laugh lines and gray threads in my hair. The girl who had fallen in love in Morocco was gone, replaced by a woman who had survived betrayal, raised children, built a career, and accidentally brought down an international criminal network. Ahmed would have been proud of who I'd become. I placed his final letter in the memory box where I'd once hidden his ring, next to the few photographs I'd never been able to destroy. Then I closed the box and put it away. Some treasures were meant to be visited, not lived in. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in decades. The truth had set me free, not just from Youssef's threats, but from the prison of my own assumptions about the past. Khalil called around noon with news that the Moroccan attorney wanted to meet, that there were people who had known Ahmed in his final days and wanted to share their memories. He was planning a trip to Casablanca and invited me to come along. I thought about it for all of 30 seconds. No, I told him, but thank you. I think I've had enough of Morocco for one lifetime. What will you do instead? I looked out my kitchen window at the desert landscape I'd called home for more than 2 decades. Phoenix rising from the ashes, built on hope and determination in an impossible place. I'm thinking about taking that promotion to regional director, I said. Henderson Marketing is going to need strong leadership while we rebuild after all the publicity. And personally, I smiled, thinking about the new possibilities that had opened up now that I was no longer running from the past. Personally, I think it's time I learned to live without looking over my shoulder. Ahmed gave me that gift, and I intend to use it. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and Ahmed's letter, reading his words one more time. Then I folded it carefully and put it away. Some chapters end with justice, others with truth. This one ended with something even more valuable: peace. At 45, I was finally ready to stop being a survivor and start being fully alive. Ahmed would have wanted that for me. And for the first time in 25 years, what Ahmed wanted and what I wanted were exactly the same thing.